John Bolton urges the U.S. to tighten its ties with Taiwan and quickly provide it with weapons. U.S. calls China to stop provocative and unsafe conduct, saying standing with the Philippines. China considers letting unmarried women access lab IVF conception legally. Matchmaking live stream, how senior citizens find love in China.
On April 29th, former U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton called on the United States to further tighten ties with Taiwan. According to Taiwan News, speaking at the Global Taiwan National Affairs Symposium, the former Trump administration security advisor said he has been urging the U.S. government to diplomatically recognize Taiwan as a country since 2000, but according to Bolton, the U.S. needs to expand and tighten ties with the island in all fields. Bolton believes it will be too late once the Chinese Communist Party launches an invasion of Taiwan. Bolton views the recent visit to Russia by the CCP's General Secretary Xi Jinping as evidence that Beijing and Moscow plan to establish a new axis. Therefore, the CCP's threat to security in the Taiwan Strait should be viewed from a global political perspective. He added that the CCP uses the Belt and Road Initiative and its technological infiltration capabilities to terrorize the world, and Taiwan is the center of gravity of its campaign. Bolton suggested that U.S. defense spending should increase from 5% to 6%, as it was under the administration of former President Ronald Reagan. He also said that Taiwan should also increase defense spending. According to the former advisor, what Ukraine is doing to counter Russia's aggression is the best example for Taiwan to follow. He said that Taiwan should not only strengthen its military capabilities, but also its will to fight. He said strength is not provocation, weakness is. Bolton said that the U.S. needed to send more naval ships through the Taiwan Strait to ensure freedom of navigation and quickly increase the supply of weapons to Taiwan. Bolton also suggested that the U.S. end its strategic ambiguity policy for Taiwan. In August, he said, "We ought to be clear to China that we consider Taiwan an independent country."
Amid simmering geopolitical tension, the U.S. on April 29th called on China to stop harassing Philippine vessels in the South China Sea and vowed to support the Philippines. As reported by Nikkei Asia, the U.S. State Department said, "We call upon Beijing to desist from its provocative and unsafe conduct." On April 28th, the Philippines accused China's Coast Guard of aggressive tactics following an incident during a Philippine Coast Guard patrol close to the Philippine-held Second Thomas Shoal, a flashpoint for previous altercations, located 121 miles, 195 kilometers off its coast. Breitbart reported that the Philippine Coast Guard had invited international journalists on a tour of the Spratlys, and a boatload of foreign media was present when the incident happened on April 23rd. For 6 days, 2 Philippine ships were followed and harassed by Chinese coast guards. At the end of 6 days, a Chinese ship violently maneuvered to block one of the much smaller Philippine vessels close to the Second Thomas Shoal, causing a near crash. Rodel Hernandez, commander of the BRP Malapascua, said to his passengers after the incident, "We would have collided on the bow had I not cut the engine and thrown it in reverse." Hernandez referred to the battle as a David and Goliath encounter, since the Chinese ship was more than twice as large as the Malapascua. More journalists were on board the BRP Malabrigo, another Philippine ship, when a Chinese ship came within 150 feet, 45 meters of it. The Philippines said in February that a Chinese Coast Guard ship had fired a military-grade laser at one of its resupply ships. China asserts sovereignty over nearly the entire South China Sea, with a 9-dash line on maps that extends more than 930 miles off its mainland and cuts into the exclusive economic zones of Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, and the Philippines. An international arbitral ruling in 2016 rejected that line has no legal basis. On April 28th, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said that the Philippine vessels had trespassed into Chinese territorial seas and made international provocations. The U.S. State Department stands with our Philippine allies in upholding the rules-based international maritime order.
The looming demographic crisis is forcing the Chinese Communist Party to reconsider more of its restrictions on the rights of single mothers. Reuters reported on April 28 that political advisors have already suggested allowing unmarried women to access in vitro fertility treatment in March legally. Political advisor Lu Weiying from Hainan province was among those who made the proposals. She said people in China are marrying and having children much later than previously, which has led to an increase in infertility, miscarriage, and increased risk of fetal abnormalities. While senior leaders haven't publicly shown much attitude about the matter, such a possibility raises hopes for unmarried women in China. The CCP does not explicitly ban extramarital births, but fundamental rights such as prenatal care and child registration are impossible without a marriage license. Joy Young, a 22-year-old international finance student from Hunan province, said she learned about IVF on TV and hopes it will be available to all women in China if she can afford a child but does not have a partner. She said, some women don't want to get married but still want to have children, so I might choose to do IVF. At present, Chengdu City in Sichuan province is among the few pioneering localities that scrapped many of its prohibitions on unmarried women. In February, it authorized the registration of children of unmarried women. For 33-year-old Chen Luojin, she can now try her luck with IVF in the populous city. She told Reuters, becoming a single parent is not for everyone, but I'm happy with the decision. Equally, getting married or not is for each individual to decide. We have liberalized the policies here, and I know a lot of single women are doing IVF. Eve Lippins, Director of Business Development for Asia Pacific at INVO Bioscience, expects that demand for the treatment will rise if the CCP decides to ease the rules. Population experts say that China's demographic challenge requires more than better fertility services access. Other issues such as low wages, costly education, weak social security, and high gender imbalance must be addressed. Still, it might be better than nothing. Lin Haiwei, Director of Beijing Perfect Family Hospital, reveals that IVF accounts for 3% of China's annual births, around 300,000 babies annually. She said, I believe a related policy will come out in the near future that can satisfy many people's desire to have a child. Senior citizens in China are now adopting a novel way to find love. It's via live streams, which attract a lot of followers. According to The Economist, old people can flick through different rooms on their phones, checking out potential partners. They can request to enter the room if anyone captures their attention. A host serves as the doorman, the matchmaker, and the bouncer. Once two people hit it off and contact details are exchanged, the host gets a fee. However, if the host senses a lack of interest, he or she will cut the connection with just one click of a button. The spectacle draws a large audience. More than 500,000 people follow one host. Statistics from Baidu, a Chinese online search giant, shows that over half of the 100 million registered users of the dating app Pair are 50 or older. Middle-aged and elderly life is a different software released in 2019 and has gained popularity. In the same year, the founder of Baihe, the largest dating site in China, created Leisure Island, a senior social network with dating capabilities. Growing numbers of senior citizens are feeling demand for these products. There are now about 210 million seniors in China, up from only 160 million 5 years ago. Additionally, China's average life expectancy has increased from just under 73 in 2005 to almost 78 today. However, the number of single seniors in the country has not been well documented in recent years. A study conducted by the China Research Center on Aging, released in 2015, revealed that more than 25% of people 60 and older were single, separated, or widowed. A 2014 Renmin University poll found that roughly 10% of older adults live alone. Traditional views against senior citizens getting remarried and likely opposition from their children don't help.